Hi, dear beloved. How you doing? I hope you are doing great. Happy Sunday to you. Yes, guys. So I know I am not. If you notice, my videos are getting shorter, but I'm actually reading more. It's just that I am having the storage issue, but all that will be sorted out real soon. Even the quality issue, because a phone is in the process. So mentally first. So that would be sorted out as well. So I'm in Exodus at the moment. I'm at Exodus chapter 2. Yeah, Exodus chapter 2. But when I was reading 1 though, I like I really wanted to just stop what I was doing to share something that I find to be very encouraging right there in Exodus chapter 1. And even though I have gone ahead and I'm sure there are other points that I like and would like to share on, I still don't want to not share on Exodus chapter 1. Now, what happened in Exodus chapter 1 is that it says that Joseph died, right? And the Pharaoh that was in Joseph's time, that Pharaoh died. And now there was a new Pharaoh who knew not Joseph. Remember that the old Pharaoh favored Joseph in such a way that he gives him a promotion, he lifts him up. And because of how Joseph played that role in not just the survival of the Hebrews, but even the Egyptians' life was spared and they survived the famine because of Joseph, because of the purpose and favor that Joseph had from the Lord. And so Pharaoh respected Joseph. Pharaoh didn't like have a war or strive with Joseph or strive with the Hebrews, right? Even when they came down to Egypt now, and they discovered that his brethren were shepherds, even when they came down to Egypt, Pharaoh didn't deal harshly with them, right? Even when they didn't have enough, even when they didn't have enough money, and they started to say, listen, take our livestock, take our this, take our that, till the point where the famine was so long and severe that they said, listen, what is I think what is like that, then they wanted to remain alive, so they said, listen, make us your servants, then buy us, keep us alive, buy us, let us become your servants, that we may have food, because that's how the famine was so great. And even though they were slave, even as being slave bought because of the famine, they still weren't deal with in a harsh way. They still were existing with each other, I believe, in a reasonable way, but here comes this Pharaoh that knew not Joseph, you know, knew not Joseph. And I want to raise a point, that persons will attack you, persons will want to destroy you, persons will want to cut you down simply because of the fear of the possibility, the fear of the potential that you don't even see. God, when you become to grow, even when you yourself is not seeing the growth, even when you yourself not even recognize the purpose, even when you yourself don't even see your potential, the enemy sees it. Those around you will see it, and they will want to cut you down simply because of that. And this was what was happening in Exodus chapter 1. Pharaoh now said, listen, let us deal wisely with the Egyptians, because look, they are more than us. Provincial war breaks out. They will join with our enemies and they will destroy us. So in the fear of being destroyed, the fear of how they were growing, the fear of how they were flourishing, troubled the Egyptians, troubled that Pharaoh, to the point where he commanded the midwives to kill the male child say every child that the Hebrews have, the male child must be killed, but the female child should be left alive, simply because he feared them. He wanted to exercise power, rulership. He wanted to break them, to take away that strength that he feared, to take away that hope that he feared, to just take away their possibility because of his fear. Right? I don't even know if I'm saying this the way I felt it when I was reading it sometime last week. I think it was Thursday or Wednesday when I was reading it. And I saw it and I said, oh my God, this is so encouraging. Like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything to anybody sometime. But guess what? Persons will want to fight and oppose and oppress you simply because they fear. If you're in the workplace, persons will want to destroy you. Persons will want to talk about you. Persons will want to set you up simply because you are capable, simply because maybe you're not even lazy. Some persons may not even be interested in certain position or promotion that is coming, but because you are so diligent, because you're doing what you are being paid to do without a murmuring, because you're giving the service, because you're keeping the offices, because you're doing the work, and it becomes noticeable by persons above you. It's mean for an elevation, it means for a promotion, and not a lot of persons will want to do that. The Hebrews did nothing to the Egyptians. They were living together, but fear took hold of the Egyptians, and they feared them because of how lively they were, because of how strong they were, because of how they were just growing in strength. And for this reason, he said, listen, let us deal wisely. And just as though I believe Saul became perplexed by an evil spirit, I believe even Pharaoh became perplexed by an evil spirit. Just as though sometimes we get up, and we mind change, we become aggressive, we become resentful, we become this person that keeps wanna like run competition with our friends, with our family. It is an evil spirit. It's a spirit that comes to kill, to steal, to destroy. And this is why you don't have to do anybody nothing. People are afraid of growth. People are afraid of growth. People are afraid of ambition. And because of this, you will find yourself being attacked. You find yourself being in trouble. You will find yourself being oppressed, being burdened. But just as how down there in Egypt was once a place where the Hebrews found refuge. It was once a place where they found refuge. It was once a place that brought hope to the entire nation, to Israel. It was once a place where Israel looked to, because of the hope. Because God would have sent Joseph in advance to spare his people because of the famine. It was once a place where you find hope, where you find joy, where you find peace. But now it's become a place where you are troubled, where you are perplexed, where you are oppressed. And just as though the Hebrews were now troubled by the thoughts, because of the thought the Egyptians have of them, the fear of them, they become in danger. They begin to give them hard labor to do. Even so, the Lord will, like, literally, even so, God sees you right there where you are. God see you in that home, in that marriage. God see you in that business. God see you in that family. God sees you that it's no longer pleasant, that is no longer somewhere where you can grow. God sees that the environment, it's now become so poison, so toxic. God see where you are being break, you're being crushed. But just like with the Israelites down there in Egypt, God heard their cry. God heard their cry, and even before they became afflicted, God was always gonna go down there to rescue them, because even though they were in Egypt, Egypt wasn't the place where God intended for them to be. They still, our God is not a man that he should lie, so there was still a promised land that they should inherit. And this was why even Jacob didn't want to leave his remains down there in Egypt. And this is why even Joseph didn't want his bones to be left down there in Egypt, because Egypt wasn't that hope. Egypt wasn't that promise. Egypt wasn't that place where God intended for them to be. But there was a place filled with what? Milk and honey? Yes, Canaan's land. And so it touched me, because listen, it's okay to start out great. It's okay to trust people. It's okay to build families, to build home, to build relationship. It's okay. But when it reaches a point where it's not okay, we should never believe that what they are doing is right, and this is where I must stay. There is deliverance. Yeah, there is deliverance. Come on, there is restoration. There is hope. There is a way. It's just for you to recognize that way, to see that way. So when I saw it, I was very happy about it. But I'm sure this is why when I read, I like to make the time to do the video or to do the jottings, because sometimes I really forget. But listen, I believe even this will be useful to you and to myself. God sees your pain. He sees your struggles. He knows your sorrow. And there is redemption for you. There is hope for you. You don't have to do persons anything. Know that persons are afraid of what I said. Persons are afraid of persons who are driven, persons with ambition. Persons are afraid of persons with a nice spirit. Persons are afraid of persons who are loving. Persons will just not do their job, not do their service. Delinquent. Full of procrastination, And yet when you are doing your job, you are doing your service, you're being hated for it. You're being talked about for it. Persons are going back in your life for it. Persons will go back in your life for it. Persons will try to do everything to cut you down, to kill that ambition, to kill that drive, to kill that hope. But come on, there's a God in heaven though. There's a God in heaven, and he sees the cry of his people. And he says, listen, for the sign of the poor and the crying of the needy, I, God, will arise or repay. Vengeance is his. He's the one that will vindicate. So there are times in our life when we can't do anything. We can't do anything. Like, we can see the problems, because I know what it's like to see the problem and not being able to solve the problem, not knowing how to solve the problem, not knowing how to approach it. But I see it. Sometimes I can even name the problem, but there is no solution. I'm not seeing it. But that's when I have to say, I surrender. That's when I have to learn to trust that God is a deliverer. That's when I have to learn to trust when the Lord says, listen, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. There come a time in every believer's life when all we have to do is stand still. Stand still. Being still doesn't mean you are hopeless. Being still doesn't mean that you want to die. Being still doesn't mean that you're just, it just means that you recognize that you cannot do it yourself. You cannot help yourself. You cannot develop it yourself. But you are waiting for divine intervention. You're waiting for something greater than you. You're waiting for the hand of God. You're waiting for the favor of God. You're waiting for the move of God. You are waiting for His deliverance, for His protection, for His keeping power. God. That's all I'll say right here. All right? Catch you in the next video.